What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. I am your host, the average old school Model 38 enjoyer that your mom sent to live at home. Thanks for watching, guys. Just wanted to bring this thing out, even though revolvers are antiquated and are kind of relegated to just a range toy. Here's a cool revolver to look at. I'm sure you guys can argue in the comments about that. Today, we are going to be discussing rifle ammunition choice, okay? I have 4 different types of ammo we're going to discuss today. I'm going to give you the pros and cons of each and kind of some things to think about as you're getting into the realistic use of your rifle for either WROL, SHTF, or just home defense, and some things to think about for each, okay? Leave a parachuting emoji or airborne emoji down below, because where are my paratroopers at, okay? If you want to support the channel, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Check the description below for the sponsor of the video. It's Palmetto State Armory. And if you want to join the Patreon where you can stay up late, and do all the things, it's $5 a month, and I'll send you a link to our Discord server. Okay, let's get it, dudes. So we got a bunch of stuff out here that you can't see on the camera. Here's my home defense rifle. You've seen it a bunch lately on the channel because I've been obsessed with it, right? For those that don't know what's going on here, it's a TA-31 ACOG with a green chevron, an RMR on top, okay, piggybacked on top, a white light, and a blue force gear sling, and everything is just running great with this thing. It's a Daniel Defense 16-inch rifle, okay, and of course it's painted because that's what you're supposed to do with your guns. But the main thing we're going to be discussing is the type of ammo you want for different applications, okay? We're going to start with the most common type, and I'm going to give you kind of the best and worst of each category, so you can kind of decide where you might want to use it and why. And what do you think the most common type is? This stuff right here, guys. 55 grain full metal jacket, okay, M193 or 55 grain brass case. This stuff is what most of you guys comment down below if this is what you're rocking in your gun, okay? 55 grain, just regular full metal jacket brass case stuff. Let me tell you what it's good at. Okay, 55 grain is really good at being an all-purpose round. And let me just get ahead of all the guys that are hitting their keyboard right now. It's not good at armor penetration, okay? It's not made for that. But it's good for an all-purpose round if you're balling on a budget and you can't really afford to train, or I guess you can't afford to stockpile over 200 rounds or something good. Well, M193 is definitely the lowest acceptable round you can use. But because it's a full metal jacket, if you shoot a 14.5-inch barrel or longer with this stuff, what the bullet is going to do is it's going to fly pretty good out to about 300 to 350 meters based on wind, very, very accurately. And what it's going to do when it hits the intended target, it's going to yaw. Okay, it's going to go end over end in the path of least resistance, and it's going to hold its shape. Okay, because it is a ball projectile, it's one thing, it is going to hold its form. And what that ball is going to do, or that bullet is going to do, it is going to hit really hard, and then it's going to go the path of least resistance. Now, if the dude you're shooting is wearing body armor, like level 4 plates, you're probably not going to get through that body armor, okay? I can pretty much tell you that. But if you hit them in any sort of soft armor, or if you hit them just in the body, that bullet is going to hit really hard, and it's going to make a larger exit wound than the entrance wound. There's a very famous young man that defended himself during the riots that used 55 grain ball. You can go, some of you guys know, his name may or may not be Kyle, and he may or may not have had a gun that was a little bit cheaper than this, not as good of a build as this, but guess what? He used some 55 grain to very good effect that day. And I think you see how devastating 5.56 can be, even when you're using ball ammo, okay? So what 55 grain M193 is going to be good at is your unarmored threats, and if you hit them anywhere where there's no armor, it's going to punch a very large exit wound, and it's going to carry all the energy in the path of least resistance. So if it hits them, if you hit them in the gut, it may not exit out the back of the gut through the spine. It may exit out through the shoulder just based on the energy transfer. Ask any dudes that used M193 because it was better than green tip, and we're about to talk about green tip in a second, and then they'll tell you why. Okay, so that's M193. So if you have M193, just know you're not going to be able to defeat very much armor. It's not made for that. However, it's going to do really good things, especially if you're hitting them to the chest, one to the groin, one to the head. that's going to be a pretty good deal, especially out of your longer barrels. If you're running a 20-inch barrel, you're good to go. If you're running 18 and 16, you're good to go. Once you get to 14.5 and below, with 55 grain ball, you need to be a little bit concerned, okay? So if you're running your Mark 18 watching this video, then you're running M193 55 grain ball, you need to start getting better ammo, okay? Because it's not gonna perform very well past about 200 meters, all right? That's just voice of experience. Go shoot a deer with your Mark 18. Actually, don't do that. But if you shot a deer in the heart and lungs with your Mark 18, it's not gonna have very good energy transfer to even that deer. And you guys know what I'm talking about. All right. Let's talk about my least preferred and the ammo that I've put probably upwards of 60,000 rounds or more in my military career and privately. That's this stuff right here. M855, okay? M855, I believe is, I got a box of it right here, 62 grain, right? So, 62 grain M855. What M855 was made to do, before all the FUDs get in the comments, I'll just talk about it right now. Green tip, right? Green tip was not made to wound. That is just some outdated FUD lore. So green tip, a lot of times you're gonna hear is 5.56 or green tip was just made to wound. It's not made to kill. That is just a lie, and you should just disregard that person's advice because they don't know what they're talking about. So let's talk about what green tip is bad at. Green tip is really bad at killing skinny people. What that means is it's an ice pick. If you hit somebody that doesn't have gains, hello dog. If you hit somebody that doesn't have gains, and they get hit a bunch with M855, I'm not saying it's not effective. What I'm saying is it doesn't have the opportunity to do what it's supposed to do. What green tip is supposed to do is supposed to defeat light barricades and armor, okay? It's not very good at barrier penetration though. That's one thing. And when I say barrier, I'm not talking about your house. So M193 is gonna be better for home defense than green tip, okay? So I'll just tell you that right off the bat. The reason why M193 55 grain is better is because it is going to deliver that energy more efficiently to every barrier that it hits. Whereas green tip is going to hold its form, and like I said, it's going to be an ice pick. It's going to try to go through as many things as possible. Problem is with your house, if you use M855 in your house, green tip, it's going to go through the whole house. Even if you punch that skinny kid that's methed out of their mind trying to kill you and your family, you're going to punch them 3 or 4 times in the chest. What that bullet is going to do is going to hold its form. It's going to punch right through them. You're going to be able to see daylight through them, okay? That is the bad thing about green tip. It's really good at going through things. By things, I mean people. But it's made to go through body armor, okay? Green tip is really good at body armor penetration, but it's not a very efficient way to transfer energy. I.e., I would rather hit you in the heart and lungs with the M193 because the M193 is going to do better in soft tissue. You guys are going to argue in the comments below. You're incorrect. You can fight me on it all day. M855 is good for punching holes into people that are wearing body armor. Not good at killing people. Go look at the Battle of Fallujah. They were punching tons of holes into people and they were still moving because the bullet wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing, okay? The Army learned, okay? The Army learned. So for home defense, M855, don't do it. I don't recommend it. I definitely would rather have M193. So number 4 on the list for sure is going to be the M855. Number 3 on the list is going to be M193. Now let's talk about number 2. All right, number 2 on the list. And this is going to be a little bit controversial because I can't show you any because I don't want to go to jail. But not that I have any, of course. But doggone M855 Alpha 1, the Army's new bullet. So the Army decided Congress decided we were putting too much lead into the earth, and the Army also wanted a new bullet, and so did the Department of Defense. So they designed the M855 Alpha 1. I can tell you from experience, M855 Alpha 1 is extremely, extremely devastating. It is a body armor, it is made to defeat body armor, but it is a multiple projectile component, okay? So the tip of the bullet, after it makes penetration, after it penetrates, what are you doing, dog? After the bullet penetrates, the tip of the bullet will separate, and the remainder of the bullet of the M855 Alpha 1 will do a lot of good things. It will yaw and go in crazy directions, and it will kill the ever-loving shit out of its intended target if it hits it. So for home defense, okay, it's not ideal, but it's better than M855, and it's going to be better than M193, all right? So M855 Alpha 1 is going to be an extremely good option. Here's the problem. Most of you guys are not going to have access to it, okay? So if you have access to M855 Alpha 1, it's probably going to be expensive, but it's a good bullet. But don't worry, I'm about to show you a better option. But just know M855 Alpha 1 will be my number 2 choice for home defense or go to war, okay? It's just really legit. One bad thing to note about M855 Alpha 1, it will destroy your bolt, it will destroy your barrel. The ammo is loaded hot. It will ruin your barrel faster, specifically at the throat end and the muzzle end of the barrel. M855 Alpha 1, I have seen thousands of rifles, okay, as a drill sergeant. I've seen thousands of bolts break and barrels burned out from the new round. The M855 Alpha 1 is a coarse. The projectile itself is very coarse, and it's tearing up the barrels and the rifling, as well as the bullet is loaded hot, so it's ruining the actual rifling as well on the throat end and the muzzle end. All right, so that's going to be number 2. Number 1, and it's the bullet you hear a lot about, but no one owns. This stuff is 77 grain OTM. I have 2 different examples of it out here today. Let me grab a different one. So I have a brass case, okay, and a nickel case. I guess I'll put it back in the magazine so you guys can see it. So I have a brass case and a nickel case, 77 grain OTM. One is made by Winchester and one is made by AAC, okay, the PSA ammo. If you want to buy more of it, use my link below and it helps me out. Let's talk about 77 grain open tip match. Okay, you can shoot 77 grain open tip match out of your Mark 18 and get the same performance or damn near as a 16 inch. Here's the thing. 77 grain OTM is loaded hot. It's good for bucking wind. It's good for being accurate, and it's good for putting people in the dirt. When 77 OTM hits, the bullet, and you can go look at like a slow-mo. I'm sure people like Grantham or somebody have like some good gel testing of it. 77 grain OTM, when it hits, it just completely devastates the media that it's going into. It's not the best for body armor. Again, M855 and M855 Alpha 1 are going to be better for body armor penetration, but 77 grain OTM, regardless if you get nickel or brass case, this thing is legit, guys. If you can get your hands on at least 200 rounds of 77 grain OTM, dude, and even if you're running a Mark 18, that's going to turn that Mark 18 into some dude that's jacked out of their mind like a 20 inch or freaking an 18 inch. It's not going to be as good, obviously, because if you shot 77 OTM out of a 20 inch, it would be better, but it turns your shorter barrel guns into something useful. So if you're running a shorty, like a Mark 18 or 11.5 or 12.5, dude, get some 77 OTM and you're increasing your lethality with that bullet. Okay, guys. Let me know what questions you have or things you disagree or agree with down below. I look forward to reading your comments. Again, here's this badass revolver for you guys to check out, okay? Let me know what round you're realistically running for home defense and for duty use. Obviously, if you're in the dot mill, you're running M855 Alpha 1. Let me know what your experiences have been with the M855 Alpha 1 for all you dudes using it professionally. For all you cops out there, let me know what hollow point you're using. I know a lot of you guys are using 77 OTMs, so let me know how those are running. And if anyone's still running green tip, I want to know why. Because I'm not saying it's the worst. Obviously, it's in my top 4 list, but it's not... It's just not great at any one thing other than poking tiny holes through body armor, okay? All right, guys. That thing I've talked a lot. You guys haven't talked any. But let me know what you guys think down below about what bullet you're going to put through your rifle when the SHTF thing happens. But until next time, this is going to be Trench Grenade, your average 77 grain OTM enjoyer, signing out. Cheers.